The Star Painter. Once upon a time, in a quiet village nestled between mountains and forests, there lived a little girl named Mira who loved to paint. But her paintings were special, not of landscapes or animals, but of stars. She believed that the stars were alive and whispered stories to her. One night, as she sat under the vast sky, her paints glimmering in the moonlight, a tiny star fell from the heavens and landed gently in her hands. "Thank you for listening to our stories," said the star in a soft, musical voice. "But the night sky is fading. The stars are losing their light. Can you help us?" Mira's eyes sparkled with wonder. "What can I do?" she asked. "Use your paints," the star said. "Your colors hold the magic of dreams. Paint us back to life." Without hesitation, Mira began her work. She climbed to the top of the highest hill, her brush moving as if guided by an unseen force. She painted the stars with golden yellows, deep blues, and fiery reds, giving each a unique sparkle. As she worked, the sky lit up brighter and more beautiful than ever before. People from the village came out, amazed at the shimmering constellations. The stars danced in gratitude, their light warming Mira's heart. When she was done, the little star thanked her. "You've given us a second life, Mira. In return, every time you look at the night sky, remember that you are part of its magic." From that day on, the stars shone brighter than ever, and Mira became known as the Star Painter. And every night, as the stars twinkled, the village children swore they could see the shapes of her colorful brushstrokes in the heavens. And so, the night sky became not just a wonder to behold, but a story to be told. The end. Blanketed by endless winter, there was a young princess named Esme. She had hair as dark as midnight, skin as pale as freshly fallen snow, and eyes that sparkled like sapphires. Esme lived in an icy palace, but her heart was warm and kind, loved by all who met her. One day, as Esme wandered through the frosty forest, she stumbled upon a glowing crystal buried beneath the snow. As she touched it, a soft voice whispered, "Whoever holds the heart of winter may awaken the spring." Curious and brave, Esme took the crystal and followed the voice deeper into the forest. There, she discovered a frozen lake with a magnificent stag trapped in the ice. The stag's antlers glimmered like stars and tears froze on its lashes. "Poor creature," Esme said, placing the crystal near the ice. It began to glow brighter, melting the frost around the stag. With a leap, the stag broke free and stood tall before her. "Thank you, kind princess," it said. "I am the guardian of seasons. Long ago, an evil sorceress froze the land and imprisoned me. Your compassion has set me free, and now I shall restore balance to the kingdom." The stag dipped its head, touching Esme's shoulder with its glowing antlers. In an instant, flowers bloomed where her feet touched, and the snow began to melt. Spring had returned, and the kingdom awoke from its icy slumber. The stag gifted Esme the heart of winter, saying, "Keep this crystal, for it will remind all that warmth and kindness can melt even the coldest of hearts." The unicorn's sparkling secret. Once upon a time, in the rolling green hills of Everglow Valley, there was a small village where magical creatures were said to roam, but the villagers rarely saw any magic, and most had stopped believing in it, except for one little girl named Ella. Ella loved exploring the valley, always hoping to find something extraordinary. One sunny afternoon, Ella decided to venture deeper into the woods than she ever had before. With her trusty satchel filled with snacks and her favorite sketchbook, she followed a glittering stream. The stream's water sparkled in a way she had never seen, as if tiny stars danced within it. As she climbed over a mossy log and pushed through a thicket of ferns, Ella gasped. There in a clearing stood the most magnificent creature she had ever seen, a unicorn. It had a shimmering white coat, a flowing silver mane, and a golden horn that sparkled like the sun. Its hooves left behind trails of glowing flowers with every step. The unicorn turned its gentle, bright eyes toward Ella. For a moment, Ella thought it might run away, but instead, it stepped closer. She held her breath as the unicorn spoke, its voice soft like a breeze through the trees. "Hello, Ella," it said. Ella's eyes widened. "You know my name?" The unicorn nodded. "Of course, I am Starshine, the guardian of Everglow Valley. I watch over all who live here." Ella felt her heart race with excitement. "I knew magic was real," she exclaimed. "Why haven't you shown yourself to the villagers?" Starshine's horn dimmed slightly. "The valley's magic has been fading. Long ago, the villagers believed in wonder and kindness, and their belief kept the magic alive. But now their hearts have grown cold with doubt. Ella frowned. Is there a way to bring the magic back? The unicorn's eyes sparkled. There is one way. The crystal bloom, a magical flower, lies hidden in the Whispering Cave. If someone with a pure heart can bring it back to the valley, the magic will return. I'll find it, Ella said, determination shining in her eyes. Starshine smiled. Be brave, little one. The cave is guarded by shadows that feed on fear. You must trust yourself. With Starshine's guidance, Ella followed the glittering stream until she reached the entrance of the Whispering Cave. The air inside was cool and filled with soft murmurs that sounded like whispers. As she ventured deeper, shadows began to swirl around her. Turn back, the shadows hissed. You are too small, too weak. Ella's hands trembled, but she clutched her satchel tightly. She remembered Starshine's words, trust yourself. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. I'm not afraid of you, she said firmly. The shadows hesitated, then melted away. At the heart of the cave, Ella found the crystal bloom. It glowed with a soft rainbow light, filling the cavern with warmth. Carefully, she plucked the flower and hurried back to the clearing. When she returned, Starshine was waiting. As soon as the unicorn touched the crystal bloom with its horn, the valley erupted with magic. Trees sparkled with golden leaves, streams sang with laughter, and flowers of every color blossomed everywhere. The villagers, drawn by the dazzling display, ran to the clearing and gasped in awe. From that day on, the villagers believed in magic again, and Everglow Valley became a place of wonder and kindness. Starshine visited Ella often, and together they ensured the magic of the valley would never fade again. And so, the little girl and the unicorn proved that even the smallest hearts can bring back the greatest magic.
Leo and the Lost Seeds. Once upon a time, in a cheerful meadow surrounded by tall trees, lived a curious little rabbit named Leo. Leo loved collecting treasures he found in the forest, colourful leaves, shiny pebbles, and even feathers dropped by birds. One sunny morning, as Leo hopped near the edge of the meadow, he found a tiny bag filled with strange seeds. What could these be? He wondered. He thought about keeping the seeds for his collection, but his best friend, Mia the squirrel, had a better idea. Why don't you plant them? Mia suggested. But what if nothing grows? Leo asked. You won't know unless you try, Mia replied with a smile. So Leo dug small holes in the ground, carefully planted the seeds, and watered them every day. At first, nothing happened. Leo felt frustrated and wanted to give up, but Mia encouraged him. Patience is the key to growing something special. Weeks passed, and just as Leo was beginning to lose hope, tiny green sprouts peeked out of the soil. Leo was thrilled. He continued to water them and protect them from strong winds and curious birds. One day, the sprouts grew into tall plants with colourful flowers, and the flowers turned into juicy berries and crunchy vegetables. Animals from all around the forest came to admire the beautiful garden. Leo, you've created something amazing, Mia said. Leo smiled proudly. I almost gave up, but I'm glad I didn't. It took time, but it was worth it. From then on, Leo shared the fruits and vegetables with his friends, and they all enjoyed the delicious feast together. The end. Lesson 1. Patience and persistence lead to rewarding outcomes. 2. Sharing what you create brings joy to everyone.
The Little Raindrop's Journey. Once upon a time, high up in the soft, fluffy clouds, there lived a tiny raindrop named Ripple. Ripple was curious and loved asking questions. Where do we go when we fall from the sky? Ripple asked the older raindrops. Every raindrop has a special purpose, they replied. Some nourish the flowers, others fill rivers, and some might even help kids splash in puddles. Ripple was excited, but also a little nervous. What if I'm too small to make a difference? One day, the wind whispered that it was time for Ripple to join a storm. The clouds darkened, and Ripple, along with many raindrop friends, leapt into the world below. As they fell, Ripple saw a forest, a sparkling river, and finally a dusty field where crops drooped under the sun. Ripple landed softly in the field and sank into the soil. Hello, said a thirsty seed. "I've been waiting for someone just like you." Ripple felt warm and happy, knowing they were helping the seed grow. Days turned into weeks, and soon the seed sprouted into a tall plant. Ripple was carried up again by the sun's warmth, back to the clouds where new adventures awaited. Ripple learned an important lesson. Even the smallest actions can make a big difference. As Ripple rested in the clouds, they smiled, ready for their next journey. And so, Ripple's story reminds us to embrace our role in the world, no matter how small it may seem. So, little ones, dream big and always remember, you can make a difference.
The little star who found its shine. Once upon a time, in a sky full of twinkling stars, there was a little star named Sparkle. Unlike the other stars that glowed brightly, Sparkle felt very dull and small. Every night, the stars would light up the sky, and Sparkle would try hard to shine, but her light never seemed as bright as the others. "Why am I not as shiny as them?" Sparkle often wondered. One night, the moon noticed Sparkle sitting quietly and feeling sad. "Why aren't you shining, Sparkle?" the moon asked. "I try, but my light is so small. It doesn't make a difference," Sparkle replied. The moon smiled kindly. "Oh, little one, every light matters, no matter how small. Sometimes the brightest stars don't notice the little things they light up. Why don't you try shining for someone who needs you tonight?" Sparkle decided to give it a try. She focused her tiny light and looked down at the earth. That's when she saw a little boy lost in a dark forest, crying and scared. Sparkle thought, maybe my small light can help him find his way. She shone as brightly as she could, sending her light through the trees. The boy noticed the tiny glow and began to follow it. Sparkle led him safely out of the forest and back to his village, where his family was waiting for him. The little boy looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you, little star." Sparkle felt warm and happy inside. She realized that her light, no matter how small, had made a big difference. From that night on, Sparkle shined proudly, knowing that even the smallest star could brighten someone's darkest moment. The moral of the story is, no matter how small you feel, you have the power to make a difference. The Moonlight Carousel. In a small village where stars seemed to twinkle brighter than anywhere else, there was a secret only children knew. Every full moon, a magical carousel appeared in the middle of the meadow. This wasn't an ordinary carousel. Its horses were made of silver and gold, their manes flowing like silk. Instead of music, the carousel played the soft hum of the stars. But the most magical thing about it, each ride granted a wish. One full moon night, a boy named Theo, who dreamed of adventure, sneaked out of his house and ran to the meadow. There, under the glowing moonlight, stood the carousel, its golden lights dancing in the dark. As Theo approached, a silver horse turned its head and spoke. "Welcome, young dreamer. What is your wish?" Theo grinned. "I want to fly." The horse nodded, and Theo climbed onto its back. The carousel spun faster and faster until the world blurred. Suddenly, Theo felt himself rising. The horse leaped into the air, its silver wings spreading wide, and Theo found himself soaring among the stars. He glided over the village, across shimmering rivers, and up to the glowing moon itself. For what felt like hours, Theo explored the skies, laughing as the clouds tickled his face. When the ride ended, Theo landed back in the meadow, his heart racing with joy. The carousel's lights began to fade, and the horses grew still, their magic waiting for the next full moon. As Theo walked home, he couldn't stop smiling. He knew that night wasn't just about flying, it was about dreaming big and believing in magic. And every full moon after that, Theo returned to the carousel, always ready for a new adventure under the stars. The end. The magical paintbrush. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a kind-hearted boy named Arlo. He loved to draw, but had only a single broken pencil and no paper. Still, he drew on the ground, on leaves, and even on the dusty old walls of his tiny house. One day, while walking through the forest, he found an old man struggling to carry a heavy bag of firewood. Arlo quickly rushed to help him. The old man smiled and said, "You have a kind heart. I have a gift for you." He handed Arlo a beautiful golden paintbrush. "This is no ordinary brush," the old man whispered. "Whatever you paint with it will come to life." Arlo was amazed. He ran home and painted an apple. Immediately, it turned real. Excited, he painted a loaf of bread for his hungry neighbors and a warm coat for an old woman. Soon, the whole village heard about his magical paintbrush. But one day, a greedy king heard about Arlo's gift and ordered his soldiers to capture him. "Paint me a mountain of gold," the king demanded. Arlo refused. "The brush is meant to help, not for greed," he said. But the king locked him in a tall tower. That night, Arlo had an idea. He took his brush and painted a ladder, which appeared and led him out of the tower. Then he painted a great ocean around the greedy king's castle, trapping him there forever. Arlo returned to his village and used the paintbrush to help others, but he never painted gold, only things that brought happiness and kindness. And so, he lived happily ever after, sharing his gift with those in need. Moral of the story: kindness and creativity are more valuable than greed. The Starfish and the Shy Little Fish. Once upon a time, in a sparkling blue ocean, there lived a shy little fish named Finn. Finn loved to explore the coral reefs, but he was always too nervous to talk to the other sea creatures. One day, while swimming near a rocky cove, Finn noticed a beautiful starfish stuck between two rocks. "Help! I'm stuck!" cried the starfish. Finn hesitated. "What if I can't help? What if I make it worse?" he thought. But then he saw the starfish's sad little arms wiggling helplessly, and he decided to be brave. Finn swam close and said, "I'll try to help you." With a few nudges and pushes, Finn managed to free the starfish. "Thank you," said the starfish. "I'm Stella. What's your name?" "I'm Finn," he said shyly. "You're stronger than you think, Finn," Stella said, twirling happily in the water. "Would you like to explore the reef with me? I can introduce you to my friends." Finn hesitated again, but this time he remembered how good it felt to help Stella. "Okay," he said. As they swam together, Stella introduced Finn to a friendly group of sea creatures: crabs, jellyfish, and even a playful dolphin. Finn realized that making friends wasn't so scary after all. From that day on, Finn wasn't just a shy little fish. He was a brave explorer of the ocean, with Stella the starfish as his best friend. And they lived happily ever after, swimming through adventures in the big blue sea.
The Brave Little Bunny. Once upon a time, in a meadow filled with wildflowers and chirping crickets, there lived a tiny bunny named Nibbles. Nibbles was the smallest in his family and often felt too little to do anything important. One day, as the sun was setting and painting the sky orange and pink, Nibbles noticed something strange. The little ducklings by the pond were quacking loudly, flapping their tiny wings in panic. Their mama duck was nowhere to be seen. Nibbles hopped closer, his little heart racing. "What's wrong?" he asked the ducklings. "Our mama went to find food, and now we're all alone. The big scary fox might come," said the smallest duckling, shivering. Nibbles gulped. He was scared of the fox, too. But then he remembered something his mama bunny had told him. Even the smallest creatures can have the biggest courage. "I'll protect you," Nibbles said, trying to sound braver than he felt. He looked around and hatched a plan. He gathered big dry leaves, twigs, and some sticky mud. With quick, clever paws, he built a small wall around the ducklings and covered them with leaves to hide them from sight. Then Nibbles stood guard, his ears twitching at every sound. Sure enough, the sly fox soon crept into the meadow, his sharp nose sniffing for an easy snack. But before the fox could find the ducklings, Nibbles hopped out in front of him and said in his loudest voice, "Hey you, this meadow is full of traps. You better leave before you get caught." The fox blinked, surprised by the tiny bunny's boldness. "Traps?" he muttered, glancing around nervously. Not wanting to take any chances, the fox slunk away into the woods. When the mama duck returned and saw her babies safe and sound, she gave Nibbles a big hug with her wings. "Thank you, brave bunny," she said. From that day on, Nibbles was no longer just the smallest bunny. He was the meadow's hero, proving that bravery isn't about size, it's about heart. The end. The Dragon Who Didn't Like Fire. Once upon a time, in a magical kingdom surrounded by mountains, there lived a young dragon named Ember. Unlike other dragons, Ember didn't like fire. He didn't like the way it roared, how it smelled, or how it made his throat tingle when he tried to breathe it out. "Come on, Ember," his friend Blaze would say. "Breathing fire is what dragons do. Give it a try." But Ember would shake his head. "I'd rather blow bubbles or make music," he said with a smile. The other dragons laughed, but Ember didn't mind. He spent his days wandering the forest, practicing blowing bubbles and playing songs on a flute he'd carved from a hollow branch. The animals in the forest loved him, and Ember was happy. One day, a loud commotion echoed through the kingdom. A giant troll had appeared in the village, stomping around and scaring everyone. The villagers ran to the dragon caves, pleading for help. Blaze puffed out his chest. "I'll scare him off with my fire." The dragons roared and flew to the village. But the troll wasn't afraid of fire at all. In fact, he laughed and stomped even harder, causing houses to shake and trees to fall. Ember heard the noise from the forest and rushed to see what was happening. When he arrived, the villagers cried, "Ember, do something! We're in trouble!" Ember thought for a moment. He didn't have fire, but he had something else. Taking a deep breath, he blew the biggest bubble he could. It floated through the air, shimmering like a rainbow. The troll stopped and stared. "What's that?" he grumbled, reaching out to poke the bubble. Pop! It burst, spraying the troll with tiny droplets of water. The troll laughed. "Do it again." Ember blew more bubbles, each one bigger and more beautiful than the last. The troll became so enchanted that he forgot about stomping and sat down to watch. "Will you leave the village alone if I show you how to make bubbles?" Ember asked. The troll nodded eagerly. So Ember taught the troll how to blow bubbles, and in return, the troll promised never to scare the villagers again. When Ember returned to the dragon caves, the other dragons cheered. "You saved the day, Ember. Who needs fire when you have bubbles?" From that day on, Ember was known as the most creative and kind dragon in the kingdom. And even though he didn't breathe fire, he proved that being different was what made him special. The end.
The Enchanted Songbird. Once upon a time, in a kingdom nestled between the mountains and a glittering sea, there lived a young girl named Lyla. She had hair as golden as sunlight and a voice so sweet that even the birds stopped to listen when she sang. Lyla lived in a small cottage with her grandmother, who told her stories of a magical songbird said to grant a single wish to anyone pure of heart. One crisp winter morning, as Lyla hummed a tune while gathering firewood, she heard a faint, melodious chirp. She followed the sound through a snow-dappled forest until she came upon a tiny bird trapped beneath a thorny bramble. Its feathers shimmered like silver under the sun. "Oh, you poor thing," Lyla whispered. Gently, she freed the bird, careful not to hurt it. The bird flitted to her shoulder and sang the most beautiful melody Lyla had ever heard. "Thank you, kind child," the bird said, its voice as soft as the wind. "I am the enchanted songbird, and you have saved me. For your kindness, I shall grant you one wish." Lyla thought of her grandmother, who often struggled to carry water from the well and wished for nothing more than a warm, happy life. "I wish for my grandmother to never know hardship again," Lyla said. The bird's eyes sparkled. "Your wish is wise and selfless. Return home, and you will find happiness waiting for you." When Lyla arrived back at the cottage, she found the once crumbling walls repaired and the hearth roaring with warmth. Her grandmother stood by a table laden with food, her cheeks rosy with health. From that day forward, Lyla and her grandmother lived in peace and joy. The enchanted songbird often visited, perching by their window to sing its magical songs. And whenever Lyla sang, the whole forest seemed to join in harmony, a reminder that kindness always brings the most beautiful rewards. And so, they lived happily ever after. The Hidden Toy Maker. In a bustling town, there was a mysterious little workshop at the end of a crooked street. No one ever saw who worked there, but everyone knew about the magical toys it created. Dolls that could giggle, trains that moved without tracks, and spinning tops that never stopped. These toys seemed to appear at the doorstep of children who needed them most. One day, a curious boy named Oliver decided to solve the mystery of the hidden toy maker. He had always dreamed of owning one of the magical toys, but had never received one. With determination in his heart, he waited outside the workshop until the sun set and the streets grew quiet. As midnight approached, Oliver noticed a faint golden light glowing from the workshop's window. He tiptoed closer and peeked inside. To his surprise, the toy maker wasn't a person. It was a tiny clockwork creature made of gears, springs, and glowing crystals. The creature noticed Oliver and opened the door with a creak. "Why have you come?" it asked in a voice that sounded like soft chimes. "I wanted to know who makes the magical toys," Oliver replied. "And I've always wanted one myself." The clockwork creature tilted its head. The toys are for children who dream of sharing joy with others. Have you ever shared your dream? Oliver thought about it. He often dreamed of having a toy train, but never thought about why. If I had one, I'd invite all the children in my neighborhood to play with it. We'd have so much fun together. The creature's gears whirred as it smiled. That is the kind of dream we can help with. The next morning, Oliver woke to find a beautifully crafted train set at his doorstep. But it wasn't just any train. It expanded whenever more children joined in to play. Soon, the whole neighborhood came together, laughing and sharing stories. The clockwork toy maker continued its work, creating magical toys for those with dreams of kindness and joy. And as for Oliver, he discovered that the greatest magic wasn't in the toys, it was in the happiness they brought to everyone around him.
The Lion and the Little Mouse. One sunny morning in the vast golden savanna, a mighty lion was dozing under a shady tree. Suddenly, a tiny mouse darted across his paw, waking him up. With a loud roar, the lion caught the trembling mouse in his claws. "How dare you disturb my sleep?" growled the lion. The mouse squeaked, "Please, mighty lion, let me go. I promise I'll help you one day." The lion laughed. "You? Help me? A tiny creature like you?" But he felt generous and released the mouse. "Run along, little one. You're free." Days later, the lion wandered into a hunter's trap. A strong net tangled him, and no matter how hard he roared or struggled, he couldn't break free. Hearing the lion's roars, the little mouse hurried to his side. "Hold still, your majesty," the mouse said. With her sharp teeth, she gnawed at the ropes until the lion was free. The lion looked at the mouse in amazement. "You've saved me, little one. I was wrong to doubt you." The mouse smiled. "Even the smallest creatures can help the mightiest." From that day, the lion and the mouse became the best of friends, proving that kindness and help can come from the most unexpected places. Moral: no act of kindness is ever wasted, and even the smallest can make a big difference.
The Moonlight Garden. Once upon a time, in a quiet village nestled between towering mountains, a little girl named Eliza discovered a secret so magical it made her heart race with excitement. One evening, while chasing fireflies under the silver glow of the moon, she noticed a sparkling path in the grass. Curious, she followed it, her bare feet soft against the cool ground. The path led her to a hidden garden behind an old twisted oak tree. The garden shimmered in the moonlight, with flowers that glowed like stars and leaves that whispered stories when the wind passed through them. In the center stood a fountain made of crystal, its water flowing upward like a reverse waterfall. Eliza leaned closer and saw tiny creatures dancing in the fountain, fairies no bigger than her thumb, with wings that sparkled like diamonds. "Welcome, Eliza," said a fairy with a crown of petals. "You've found the Moonlight Garden, a place that only the kind-hearted can see." Eliza's eyes widened. "Why is it hidden?" The fairy smiled. "This garden holds the dreams of children. Each glowing flower is a dream waiting to bloom. Would you like to plant one?" Eliza nodded eagerly. The fairy handed her a tiny seed that glowed faintly in her palm. "Close your eyes, think of your happiest wish, and plant the seed," the fairy instructed. Eliza thought of a world where everyone was kind and happy, then gently buried the seed in the soft, glowing soil. To her amazement, the seed sprouted instantly, growing into a tall flower with petals like golden sunrises. The garden seemed to hum with warmth, and Eliza felt a surge of joy. "You've planted a dream that will shine bright," the fairy said. "Each time you visit, the garden will grow more beautiful." Eliza promised to keep the Moonlight Garden a secret and visit often. From that night on, she slept with a smile, knowing she was a part of something magical, where dreams blossomed and kindness thrived. And under the same moonlight, somewhere far away, another child dreamed of a glowing garden too. The Moonlight Cat. Once upon a time, in a tiny village surrounded by rolling hills, there was a legend about a magical cat that only appeared under the moonlight. The villagers called it Luna. They said Luna had fur as silver as the moon itself and eyes that sparkled like stars. One quiet evening, a curious boy named Leo decided to find Luna. He waited until the moon was high in the sky and sneaked out of his house with a lantern. As he wandered into the forest, the soft glow of moonlight led him to a shimmering clearing. There, sitting gracefully on a rock, was Luna. Her fur seemed to glow, and her tail flicked playfully. "Why have you come, little one?" Luna asked, her voice like a melody. "I wanted to see if you were real," said Leo. Luna purred. "Real I may be, but I am more than just a cat. I guide the moonlight and protect the dreams of children." "Can you protect my dreams too?" Leo asked, wide-eyed. Luna smiled. "Of course, but only if you promise to always believe in magic and to share your dreams with others." Leo nodded eagerly. Luna leapt from her rock and gently touched his forehead with her paw. A wave of warmth and light washed over him, filling him with a sense of wonder. From that night on, whenever Leo looked at the moon, he felt a special connection, knowing that Luna was watching over him and his dreams. And so, every child in the village who believed in Luna found their dreams filled with adventure, magic, and light. The end. The tale of Lyla and the starfish crown. Once upon a time, in the peaceful village of Willow Grove, there lived a curious little girl named Lyla. She loved to explore the beach near her home, where the golden sand met the sparkling blue ocean. Every evening, she collected seashells and listened to the waves whispering secrets of faraway lands. One day, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with pink and orange hues, Lyla noticed something glimmering in the tide pools. Curious, she tiptoed closer and found a beautiful starfish shaped like a crown, shimmering with hues of silver and gold. As Lyla picked up the starfish, a soft voice echoed, "Thank you for finding me, little one. I am Stella, the starfish queen. I got washed ashore during a mighty storm and have been stranded here." Startled but amazed, Lyla replied, "You can talk?" "Of course," Stella chuckled. "All sea creatures can speak if you truly listen. Now, will you help me return to my kingdom beneath the waves?" Excited for an adventure, Lyla nodded. "What should I do?" Stella explained. "To bring me home, you must gather 3 magical treasures: a pearl from the deepest shell, a feather from the sky gull, and the glow of a moonlit wave." Though it sounded impossible, Lyla set off on her quest. She found the pearl inside a giant clam, who agreed to share it after hearing Lyla's kind words. The sky gull gifted a feather, impressed by her bravery. The moonlit wave, however, was tricky. "How do I carry the glow of a wave?" she wondered aloud. Stella's voice whispered, "Use your heart, Lyla. Trust in its magic." Closing her eyes, Lyla imagined the beauty of the moonlit ocean and reached out with all her love for the sea. When she opened her hands, the glow danced there like a living star. With the treasures in hand, Lyla returned to the tide pool. Stella glowed brightly and said, "You have proven yourself kind, brave, and true. As a reward, I grant you a wish." Without hesitation, Lyla wished for every child in Willow Grove to hear the sea's secrets, just as she did. Stella smiled, "A selfless wish, it shall be granted." In a flash of light, Stella disappeared into the waves, and a gentle song filled the air. From that night on, every child in Willow Grove dreamed of the ocean's wonders, and Lyla's adventures with the Starfish Queen became the village's favorite bedtime story. And so, the little girl who loved the sea found her place in its magic forever. The end. The Whispering Willow. Once upon a time, in a quiet village surrounded by rolling hills, there lived a kind-hearted boy named Elias. Elias loved the woods, where he often wandered to gather herbs for his mother and listen to the rustling leaves. His favorite spot was an old willow tree by a sparkling stream, which the villagers called the Whispering Willow. The tree was said to be magical, capable of granting a single wish to anyone who could hear its whispers, but only those with a true heart could understand its words. One sunny afternoon, as Elias rested beneath the willow's drooping branches, he heard a soft, melodic voice. "Elias," the voice murmured, "I am the Whispering Willow. The forest is in great danger. A shadow creeps upon the land, and only a pure wish can restore its light." Elias looked around and saw the once bright leaves turning gray, and the stream's sparkling water growing murky. He asked softly, "How can I help?" "The shadow feeds on greed and selfishness," the willow replied. "You must choose a wish not for yourself, but for the good of all." Elias thought of his village and the forest he loved so dearly. He knew what he had to do. "I wish for the forest to thrive and its light to return. so all creatures may live in peace," he said. The moment his words left his lips, the willow's branches glowed with golden light. The gray leaves turned emerald green, the stream sparkled like diamonds, and the air filled with the joyous songs of birds. The shadow melted away, and the forest seemed more alive than ever. The willow's voice spoke again. "Your selflessness has saved the forest, Elias. May its beauty always remind others of your pure heart." When Elias returned to the village, the people marveled at the forest's newfound brilliance. From that day on, Elias was known as the guardian of the forest. The whispering willow continued to stand tall, a beacon of hope and kindness, whispering its secrets only to those who truly listened. And so, the forest and its people thrived in harmony for generations to come. The end. The Crystal Lake Mystery. Once upon a time, in a quiet village surrounded by misty mountains, there was a legend about a hidden lake called Crystal Lake. It was said that the lake sparkled like a million diamonds and held magical powers, but only the bravest and kindest souls could find it. A curious girl named Mia loved hearing the stories from her grandmother, who always ended them with a twinkle in her eye. "Follow the fireflies, and they'll lead you to the lake." One moonlit night, Mia saw a group of golden fireflies dancing outside her window. Her heart raced as she whispered, "Could they be the ones?" She grabbed her lantern and followed them into the forest. The fireflies lit a path through the woods, their glow brighter than the moonlight. Mia climbed over fallen logs, crossed a tiny stream, and finally came to a clearing where the trees sparkled with dew. There, in the middle, was Crystal Lake, shimmering like a field of stars. But something was wrong. The lake looked dull and dim, as if its magic was fading. A gentle voice called out, "Help us!" Startled, Mia looked around and saw a tiny creature, no bigger than her hand, with wings like a butterfly and a glow like the fireflies. It was a water sprite named Lumina. "The Crystal Lake's heart is missing," Lumina explained. "Without it, our magic will disappear forever. Only someone pure of heart can bring it back." Mia didn't hesitate. "Where can I find it?" Lumina pointed to a dark cave on the other side of the forest. "But beware, it is guarded by the shadow beast. You must outsmart it, not fight it." Mia's courage grew as she journeyed to the cave. Inside, she saw the glowing heart of the lake on a pedestal, but blocking it was the shadow beast, a tall figure with glowing red eyes. "You can't take it," it growled. Mia thought quickly and said, "I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to help. Why do you guard the heart?" The beast paused. "I guard it because no one ever asks why. They only try to steal it." Mia smiled. "Then come with me to return it. The lake needs its heart, and you'll still be its protector." The shadow beast nodded, its fierce eyes softening. Together, they brought the heart back to Crystal Lake. As soon as it touched the water, the lake sparkled brighter than ever. The forest came alive with colors, and Lumina and her fellow sprites danced in joy. Mia looked at the shadow beast and said, "You're not a beast, you're a guardian." From that day on, Mia became the hero of the forest, and whenever the lake sparkled at night, the villagers knew its magic was alive, thanks to her bravery and kindness. The end. The Enchanted Feather. Once upon a time, in a peaceful forest, there lived a curious boy named Arlo, who loved collecting treasures from nature. One sunny morning, while exploring the woods, he found something extraordinary, a feather that shimmered like a rainbow under the sunlight. As Arlo picked it up, the feather began to glow, and a gentle voice whispered, "Thank you for finding me. I am the Feather of Flight. Hold me tight, and I will take you to the Sky Kingdom." Excited, Arlo clutched the feather, and suddenly he was lifted off the ground. The trees and hills grew smaller as he soared higher and higher. Soon he reached the Sky Kingdom, a magical land of floating islands, sparkling rivers, and castles made of clouds. A kind wind sprite greeted him. "Welcome, Arlo. Our feather was lost, and without it, the Sky Kingdom couldn't keep the clouds moving. You are a hero for returning it." The sprite showed Arlo around the kingdom. He saw golden birds singing songs that made the clouds dance, fountains that flowed with glittering mist, and sky bridges that sparkled like diamonds. But as they toured, a dark shadow crept over the kingdom. "The Storm King," the sprite exclaimed. "He wants to steal the Feather of Flight to trap us in endless storms." Arlo didn't hesitate. "I'll protect it," he said bravely. The Storm King appeared, his thunderous voice shaking the clouds. "Hand it over," he roared. "No." Arlo held the feather tightly and whispered, "Please help me, feather of flight." The feather glowed brighter than ever, creating a shield of light that pushed the Storm King away. The dark clouds vanished, and the Sky Kingdom shone once more. "You have saved us," the wind sprite said. "The feather of flight will always be safe with us now. For your bravery, you may visit our kingdom anytime you wish." As Arlo returned home, the sprite gave him a tiny cloud in a jar as a gift, which glowed softly on his windowsill every night, reminding him of his magical adventure. The end. Once upon a time, in a sparkling meadow nestled between two shimmering rainbow mountains, lived a magical unicorn named Stari. Stari wasn't just any unicorn. Her horn was made of glittering stardust, and every time she touched it to the ground, a wish came true. Stari was loved by all the woodland creatures. The rabbits came to her when they wanted extra juicy carrots, the birds chirped their wishes for brighter feathers, and even the shy deer would ask her for dreams of exciting adventures. But Stari had a secret. Her own wish had never been granted. She longed to visit the Sky Kingdom, a floating island high above the clouds, where it was said the stars danced and sang every night. One moonlit evening, Stari met Luna, the wise old owl. Luna perched on Stari's back and said, "I know how to get you to the Sky Kingdom, but it won't be easy. Are you ready for the challenge?" Stari nodded eagerly. Luna handed her a glowing feather. "This is a star feather. You must find 3 more to complete the star key. Only then will you unlock the bridge to the Sky Kingdom." Stari's adventure began. First stop, the enchanted lake. At the lake, a mischievous water sprite named Ripple guarded the next feather. "To earn this feather, you must make me laugh," he declared. Stari twirled, danced, and even tried telling jokes, but nothing worked. Finally, she dipped her horn in the water and created bubbles that turned into glowing butterflies. Ripple laughed so hard he almost fell into the lake. He handed over the second feather, still giggling. Second stop. The whispering forest. The forest was dark, and the trees whispered secrets. Stari met a grumpy tree named Grumblebark, who held the third feather. "I'll only give it to you if you can solve my riddle," he said. The riddle was tricky, but with Luna's help, Stari figured it out. What has roots as nobody sees, is taller than trees. Up, up it goes, and yet it never grows. "The mountain," Stari exclaimed. Grumblebark sighed and handed over the feather. Final stop, the Cavern of Echoes. In the cavern, Stari met her greatest challenge, a lonely dragon named Ember, who guarded the final feather. Ember was afraid of losing the only treasure she had. Stari gently touched her horn to Ember's heart and made a wish, that Ember would never be lonely again. The cavern filled with light as Ember's heart softened, and she gave Stari the last feather with a smile. With the 4 feathers, Luna helped Stari form the star key. As she placed it in the sky, a shimmering bridge appeared, leading up to the Sky Kingdom. When Stari reached the Sky Kingdom, she was greeted by twinkling stars and singing comets. They danced with her all night, fulfilling her dream. From then on, Stari returned to the meadow, her heart full of starlight, granting wishes with even more joy. And whenever the sky sparkled extra brightly at night, the woodland creatures knew Stari was visiting her magical friends in the Sky Kingdom. The Dragon and the Silver Key. Long ago, in a tiny village surrounded by misty mountains, there was a legend about a hidden castle in the clouds. This castle was said to be guarded by a gentle dragon named Arlo, who protected a magical treasure, the Silver Key. It was said that whoever found the key could unlock a door to endless wishes. In the village lived a young boy named Finn, who dreamed of grand adventures. One starry night, as Finn stared at the mountains, an old owl landed on his window. Around its neck hung a small scroll. It read, "Brave of heart and kind of soul, seek the dragon, fulfill your goal, follow the stars, find the tree, the dragon will test if you're worthy." Finn's eyes sparkled with excitement. Grabbing his satchel, he set off on his journey. He climbed the rocky trails, crossed glowing rivers, and finally reached a giant oak tree, its roots wrapped in golden vines. The stars above formed a path pointing upward. "Do I climb?" Finn wondered aloud. Suddenly, the tree spoke. "You must prove your kindness first," it boomed. Just then, Finn heard a faint cry. He turned to see a tiny squirrel stuck in a thorny bush. Gently, Finn freed the squirrel and bandaged its little paw with a piece of cloth from his shirt. The tree smiled. if trees could smile, and said, "You are worthy. Climb now." As Finn climbed the oak, he rose higher and higher until he passed through the clouds. There, before him, was the legendary castle glowing like moonlight. In front of the castle stood Arlo, the dragon, with shimmering silver scales and warm, kind eyes. "Welcome, Finn," said Arlo in a deep voice. "You've shown courage and kindness to reach here. But to earn the silver key, you must face one last challenge, the puzzle of truth." The dragon waved his claw, and a magical riddle appeared in the air. "I am not alive, but I can grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. What am I?" Shh. Finn closed his eyes and thought deeply. Suddenly, he remembered how the campfires in his village danced and grew with the wind. "Fire!" he shouted. Arlo's eyes gleamed. "You are correct." With a gentle roar, the dragon handed Finn the silver key. "Remember," said Arlo, "this key grants only one wish, so use it wisely." Finn held the key close and thought of his village. "I wish for everyone in my village to be happy and safe forever." The key glowed brightly, and with a soft hum, the magic spread across the land. The crops grew abundantly, the rivers sparkled, and the people of the village lived in joy for generations. Finn returned home a hero, not because he found the key, but because he used it to bring happiness to others. And from that day on, the stars above the mountains always twinkled a little brighter, as if Arlo was smiling down at him. Moral of the story: true treasure lies in kindness and using your gifts to help others. The end. The tale of the tiny acorn. Once upon a time, in a lush green forest, there was a tiny acorn named Ollie. Ollie was the smallest acorn on the grand oak tree. While all the other acorns were big and strong, Ollie often felt small and insignificant. "I'll never become anything great," Ollie would say, looking at the towering trees around. One day, a gust of wind shook the branches, and Ollie fell to the ground. "Oh no, now I'll be forgotten forever," Ollie thought sadly. But the ground below was soft and welcoming. The earth whispered gently, "Don't be afraid, little one. Every great tree starts as a small seed. Stay patient, and you'll see." Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Rain kissed the soil, and the sun warmed it. Slowly but surely, Ollie sprouted a tiny green shoot. "I'm growing," Ollie exclaimed with joy. Years passed, and Ollie's tiny shoot grew taller and stronger. Other creatures in the forest began to take notice. Birds rested on Ollie's branches, squirrels built nests, and children laughed and played under Ollie's shade. One day, Ollie looked up the sky and realized something incredible. He had grown into a mighty oak tree, just like the one he came from. The forest whispered, "See, little Ollie, greatness comes to those who stay patient and keep growing, no matter how small they feel." And so Ollie stood proudly, teaching everyone that even the smallest beginnings can grow into something extraordinary with time, love, and perseverance. The adventure of Sparkle the brave kitten. Once upon a time, in a small, cozy village, there lived a fluffy kitten named Sparkle. She was the tiniest cat in the village, with golden fur and sparkling blue eyes. Sparkle loved to play, but she always wished she could be brave like the big cats who climbed tall trees and chased shadows at night. One sunny afternoon, while Sparkle was chasing a butterfly, she wandered far from the village. Suddenly, she heard a soft cry coming from the bushes. Curious, Sparkle peeked through and found a baby bird trapped under a tangled vine. "Oh no, don't worry, I'll help you," Sparkle said, though her little paws trembled. She tugged and pulled at the vine with all her might. It wasn't easy, but Sparkle didn't give up. Finally, the vine snapped, and the baby bird was free. "Thank you," chirped the bird, flapping its wings happily. "You're so brave." Sparkle felt a warm glow in her chest. "I guess I am brave," she said, her whiskers twitching with pride. The bird flew high into the sky, promising to tell everyone about Sparkle's kindness and courage. When Sparkle returned to the village, the other animals gathered around, cheering for her. From that day on, Sparkle became known as the bravest kitten in the village, not because she was the biggest or strongest, but because she always helped those in need, no matter how scared she felt. And every evening, as the sun set, Sparkle would curl up in her favorite spot, dreaming of her next adventure. The Whispering Woods and the Brave Sparrow. Once upon a time, in a magical forest called the Whispering Woods, every creature could talk. The trees would hum gentle tunes, the flowers whispered secrets of the earth, and even the rivers told tales of distant lands. One quiet evening, a tiny sparrow named Pip overheard the trees murmuring about a stolen treasure. "The crystal feather is missing," they said. "Without it, the woods will lose their magic." Pip, though small, was very brave. "I'll find the crystal feather," he chirped. The trees pointed him toward the misty caves, where the feather was hidden by a grumpy old fox. The journey was not easy. Pip flew through dark shadows, over thorny brambles, and past howling winds. Finally, he reached the misty caves where the fox lay sleeping, curled around the shimmering crystal feather. Pip knew he couldn't fight the fox, so he came up with a clever plan. He began to sing the sweetest, most enchanting song he knew. The melody was so beautiful that the fox stirred, sighed, and fell into a deeper sleep. Quietly, Pip grabbed the crystal feather in his tiny beak and flew back to the woods as fast as his wings could carry him. The moment he returned the feather to the heart of the forest, the whispering woods sparkled with life again. The trees swayed in gratitude, the flowers bloomed brighter than ever, and the rivers sang joyful songs. The animals cheered for Pip, the little sparrow, who proved that courage and cleverness could save the day. From that day on, Pip's name was whispered by the woods forever. And if you listen closely at night, you might hear the trees humming his heroic song. The end. Milo the monkey and the magical mango. Deep in the heart of the jungle, there lived a playful monkey named Milo. He was known for being the smartest and most curious monkey around. One day, while swinging through the trees, Milo spotted a golden mango glowing on the highest branch of the tallest tree. All the animals gathered beneath the tree, marveling at the golden mango. "It must be magical," they whispered. But the branch was too high, and no one could reach it. The parrot squawked, "I'll fly to get it." But when she got close, the wind shook the tree, and she couldn't grab it. The elephant trumpeted, "I'll knock the tree down." But the tree was so strong, it wouldn't budge. Finally, Milo scratched his head and said, "Let me try." He noticed a vine hanging nearby, long enough to swing from. With a big grin, Milo tied the vine around his waist, climbed to a higher branch, and launched himself toward the golden mango. The animals gasped as he soared through the air. But just as Milo reached the mango, a clever thought struck him. Instead of grabbing it outright, he plucked a regular mango nearby and swapped it for the golden one. As soon as Milo held the golden mango, the tree began to shake, and a booming voice echoed, "You are clever and brave, Milo. This mango will grant one wish. Use it wisely." Milo thought for a moment and smiled. "I wish for all the animals in the jungle to always have plenty of food." The golden mango burst into a shower of seeds, and trees full of fruits began to grow all around. The animals cheered and hugged Milo. From that day on, Milo wasn't just the clever monkey, he was the jungle's greatest hero.